Welcome to the coaching mixer with Erin and Elana. This is where we drink something and talk coaching.
And because it's the middle of the day, today what we're drinking is not alcohol based.
Yes,
so sorry to
yes,
disappoint you.
We are drinking caffeinated beverages. What are you drinking today, Erin?
I am just drinking a really boring coffee,
Amazing.
but it's not boring. It's actually really good. I have a coffee subscription, so I don't ever have to go to a store. I get coffee from this place in Calgary, Alberta. They ship it to my house. They send me like really interesting stuff, and then I gave myself a gift of a very nice coffee machine a couple of years ago, so it feels like a total like luxury to make coffee. And so drinking coffee in my self-warming mug.
Ooh, that is far from boring. That is
not
very
boring.
interesting.
But yours like actually looks pretty and fancy. So what
it's not. So I just went to, I don't, I seem like I come across as though I don't like indulge in anything because I don't drink coffee very often. I went to the local like bakery coffee shop called Ladyfingers down the street, and I got a latte, which I think they like prepared the espresso ahead of time because they were just like pouring from a large thing and they kept going and going and going. And so it was very strong. So I cut it with like some of my own oat milk. I had to. And I made it a Canadian latte. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that as an American.
Yes, you
but
are.
I added a little maple syrup. So
Yay.
in honor of you,
it makes everything
yes,
better.
It is tasty. Yes, it is. It did make it much better. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking today.
So good. I texted Steve. I was like, I would also take a tea. I'm trying not to drink multiple cups of coffee every day. And when I say I'm trying, it's like been 3 days. That's
so I know. You're in the like uncomfortable spot where it's probably not very fun.
Yeah. I go in and out, but it's probably been like, I'm just thinking like, how old is my oldest child? It's been almost 10 years since I didn't drink coffee like regularly. So I don't even know who I would be if I did not.
How exciting. You're going to meet a new Erin.
Or not, or I'll just go back to my regular 2 cups a day and be totally functional, and we'll never know.
Yeah. I don't drink a lot of caffeine. Not like the only reason is because sometimes it like I get very anxious and like my heart beats too much. And then at one point I was drinking green tea every morning, and then I became addicted to it to the point where like if I didn't have it at the exact same time, I would get a migraine, and I did not like that. So I weaned myself off. So now it's like an irregular thing for me, but I do drink tea and coffee occasionally if I am very tired.
Well,
or if we're doing a podcast.
Or if you just need to get super hyped up.
Yes.
I had a friend who she produces like TV shows, I guess. And her advice to me once was anytime you have to do like a YouTube video or teach online, because it's just so different than like having the energy of being in person. It was like, just drink 3 coffees and you'll be almost at the energy level that you have to be to project your energy through the screen. So I'm like, okay, I can blame her.
Hard though, because you get a lot of energy from like the adrenaline of being in front of other people or in that context. So it makes sense that you would need a little something to hype yourself up for video.
Yeah, but not for coaching. We should not be totally caffeinated for coaching.
No, that is an interesting experiment, perhaps, but probably not with clients.
So what's been on your mind lately, and what have you been up to?
When did we talk last week or 2 weeks ago?
I think it was like a week or 2 ago. Yeah.
I make it sound as though a lot happened. A lot did not happen. I think something that's on my mind right now in my business is it took the last year. I was very burnt out, and I was like sort of recovering from burnout. So my approach to business was very much like minimum baseline, decide like, I'm going to show up for my clients, of course, but not a lot of like active marketing or anything like that or growth. I was really prioritizing like my health and my well-being. And I am starting to come out of that. Like I'm starting to actually get kind of bored with that, which is amazing. But I'm also like experimenting with how to come out of that. So like I've just this week started incorporating some more structure in my days, and like so I'm playing around with that, which is an interesting ride to be on, because I find like some days I'm just exhausted and my capacity is like a little lower than it was. And so I'm like collaborating with myself around that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think this could be really, I mean, it is really interesting to talk about, because I remember after my like major burnout, I ran 2 businesses a decade ago, and then had like a really major burnout, got very sick, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis because all of my small joints were super swollen. I had like all the blood indicators, and needed to basically sleep and be totally off for 9 months. And yeah, like I remember that point where I was coming back and I'm like, all right, I'm bored of this. I want to do things. I want to create again. I want to engage with people again. And at the same time, it was like, I don't know, there's like a dance of like, can I trust myself to not just go back to the way that I used to do it that actually landed me in this period of time? And I think for a while I was like, how do I tell the difference between what I'm actually desiring, what's really good for me, what my intuition's telling me versus what my like workaholic conditioning is telling me. And it was just it was kind of a spiritual process for a number of years to figure out what it looked like, knowing I didn't want to go back to that burnout cycle.
Yes, that's such a beautiful way of putting it, especially because I think what I'm coming to understand now, like I've grappled with that lack of trust for a while, and like, how do I build this trust with myself? And can I trust myself with this? And what I'm playing around with now is the idea that actually like I don't love using the term normal, but like it's normal to have ups and downs of stress in a full, regular, fulfilling life. Because if you don't, that means you're like insulating yourself from normal human experiences. So I think initially when I started, like I've tried incorporating some more structure in my life before this moment, and freaked out at the first sign of like stress, and then had huge resistance come up, and then gone back into this more, I call it like hibernation mode. But now I'm playing around with this idea that, okay, I can actually like build more resilience for controlled stress. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing where then I just like hit the gas pedal and stay on the gas pedal. I can titrate a little bit so that it feels different, but I think it feels good in a way.
I really love that. I'm trying to think like, I think where this is like maybe weird. I'm like, oh, I just finished a workout, and hence the workout, hence the workout look that I'm rocking today. I feel like a big part of that for me was the physical challenge, because, I had only done very, mostly like pretty gentle exercise for a long time. I had a big story about how I'm too tiny and bird-like, and I can't lift weights, and I can't do cardio. Like I'm just made for yoga and bar classes, and that's all I can do. But at some point I'm like, yeah, if I were to intentionally build resilience through just challenging like my physical capacity and doing that in a really controlled environment, rather than I think there's like a different quality of stress when it's sometimes, I'm not going to speak for you, but I know for me, I'm like, a lot of my former stress was really involving myself in things that totally didn't matter and were very actually unaligned. And I just thought, I have to do this because I run a business, and I have to do this because this is what all the business people tell me to do. And it was like a whole lot of shit. It was a whole lot of stuff to do for one person. And I think it makes I think over time, it like kind of erodes your enchantment with your business to have to do that. So I don't know, for me, it's been really coming to doing more physical strength-based things that I never really related to being part of who I was. But in the last, I don't know, I'm thinking about, I think I've been like working out. I use a Peloton app, and I have like the bike and the rower. I'm very addicted. I know a lot of people don't like Peloton, but I'm like, I'm a fan. I have been to the classes in New York City. Because it's so easy to just go into my basement and like get on the bike or lift some weights. But I think I'm on like a 300 and something week streak. So I've been doing some sort of workout. Sometimes it's a meditation or a stretch too, but I've done something every week since my 7-year-old was like really little.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was for my mind.
Yeah.
No, but like, just to your point, like that, figuring out how can I challenge myself in like a controlled environment and figure out what my capacity for challenges, for stress is. Because I do think, I mean, maybe we can talk about this a little bit. Like, I think a lot of people have been taught in our industry that like any sign of strain is bad. It means you're doing something wrong, or you're thinking a bad thought, or like, and I think people kind of go into two modes of either the hyper overworkers or the like, I sent one email and now I have to take a 5-hour nap.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's like a strange sort of double messaging that happens that's like completely on both sides of the spectrum. There's like this messaging that if you have this strain, you can just like change your thoughts to get out of that. Like, why would you be thinking that? You should just think something else. And then conversely, I think on the business side of things, I do think there's kind of like a pervasive, not unexamined by everything, but I think like industry wide, there's a messaging of like what success looks like. And I think that success is very much tied to this model of what I would consider overworking. That's subjective, of course, but I think it's like tied to this putting, money goals above all else, not really thinking like incorporating your values and what you consider to be like a fulfilling life at the forefront, but rather like what like typical, I guess, business success looks like, which is like prioritizing profit or money or growth. I think growth is the big one. Prioritizing growth above all else, and like continuous growth as well. So it's like very confusing, I think, as a coach to hold both of those messages at the same at once. And I don't think either really serve coaches.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I kind of understand how that like mega growth thing came into our industry, because I know for a really long time, and I'm sure you've experienced this. I'm sure any coach listening to this has experienced this. People assume that when you say that you're a life coach, that you're like broke. They're like, well, that's not a real job. That's not a real profession. Like, there are communities where coaches are really taught to like not actually charge in an appropriate way that like to the value that they bring to people's lives. And they are not given even an introduction to like basic entrepreneurial skills. So I think kind of our community, where we kind of came up through, I think there was this big drive to say, no, we can be successful, we can have profitable businesses. And there was like a big focus on kind of legitimizing it through revenue, because it's just so easy to say, well, if you make $1 million in your coaching business, then you're a real business owner.
Yes.
Even though making $1 million doesn't mean that that is your profit. And that doesn't mean, especially if you've made $1 million and you have a team of 10 people, that is actually a really dicey game. Can't sustain that. And, you know, we've seen so many ups and downs on this roller coaster of the last 5 years, 6 years. So I like kind of get the pendulum swing in that direction. But I also think there's a lot of people that were told that if they just had like a really positive attitude and thought good thoughts, whatever that means, that everything would just, like, the if you build it, they will come sort of field of dreams situation. And it's like, no, you actually, it is not that simple. And there's just a lot of rejection and there's a learning curve, and it takes a vast amount of energy that people who've never been entrepreneurs before do not come to this world prepared for. And like, I don't think anyone is ever prepared when they start a business.
Yeah.
How hard it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, even the most successful businesses, especially the most successful businesses, there's a long period of putting in a lot of work and not really seeing any results. And that's just something like, that's a hurdle that I think every entrepreneur kind of has to go through.
Yeah. I guess the thing I like kind of compare it to, because this sounds like, oh, this is such a bummer. But honestly, it's kind of like, I think it speaks to making sure, I mean, I'm going to like pull from my own kind of playbook here, but I think it speaks to like why having a really strong vision is so important. Because if it is just about the money goal, that is not strong enough to hold you through the storm on the way to the money goal.
Yeah, they're easier, maybe not easier, but like more predictable, easier, I guess, ways to make money.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So many easier ways. So many.
Yeah.
Than doing this. Like, you have to have something you really care about. And I mean, I'm imagining that probably is what pulled you back into being at some point like, okay, I've rested. I'm going to take care of this in a different way going forward, but there's something I want to do here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also, the vision is so important. Knowing your values, I think, is really important. And like, I think of it as like having a North Star, like to point, so that you can orient yourself in that direction no matter what. And I think it's important to have a North Star that like takes into account your humanity. Like for me, I think at some point, maybe I'll make a money goal. That's never been very motivating to me. I'm not independently wealthy. Like, don't get me wrong, I need money to live, but in and of itself, that's not very meaningful to me. For me, with my business, it's always been about sustainability. So like, I have, what draws me to coaching specifically, but from a business perspective, for me, I make decisions around sustainability. So sometimes that looks like a period of growth and investing in my own growth. And sometimes that looks like contracting, like in the last year, where I'm like, I can't, if I ignore what's going on with me. And the last year, we can talk about, I'm sure we could have many conversations about this, but I think perimenopause started hitting me about a year ago, and I didn't know what was happening. And it really impacted my health and my mental health, physical health, emotional health. And that was a very confusing, and it changed my relationship to coaching actually pretty significantly. But there was a part of me that knew if I ignore what's going on with me and try to keep going as I had been, I won't have a business in 5 years, because this is just not sustainable for me. So it made sense for me and my business, I think, to take a step back and to kind of run on minimum baseline mode, which was for me, like showing up for my clients as best I could. And yeah, like I think without that, I don't know what I would have done. If I had just had a money goal, or if I had just had this idea that like I had to grow all the time, I probably would have given up, because that just wasn't something I was capable of or interested in doing.
I think that's why a lot of people in the industry in the last few years have given up, because it's not personally meaningful. It's not fulfilling. If it's about, it's so funny too, because I'm like, as coaches, we kind of have I feel like we maybe have a professional responsibility to listen to that inner knowing, which you did so beautifully, and taking the time, which will of course feed. It's a kind of a regenerative input for your business, for your clients. Like, you've gone somewhere and done something that is so terrifying to so many people. And you've come out of it with a different insight, with a different experience, with like a richer well to draw upon, and knowing I've got to do this differently as I go forward.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that can pay lip service to that, but I don't know that their clients would ever really feel it, because they know that it's an idea that the person has rather than a lived experience. And that's not to say that I think for coaches that you have to have the lived experience for everything that your clients are doing at all. But I think you have to be able to have gone to the depth, the scary place that you need to go to be able to hold that for someone else, which you have. And I don't know, I think it's sort of important to question that. Like, I would never want a coach who is burnt out. I would never want someone giving me support on my business whose business is a mess, because they're so burnt out and they're working 6 days a week. And I hoped that this was true. I was like, a couple of years ago, I decided, I'm like, I'm only going to work 30 hours a week, no more than that. 25 is ideal. We pretty much take Fridays off. I'm rarely working on a Thursday. We're meeting because I've got vacation next week and all of that. But I was like, I really hope that this experiment pays off. I hope I can like show people that they can have a life and be well. And I mean, I post all my I have a sauna after this. I'm going to go in the sauna. I'm going to do a cold plunge. I'm going to like meditate. I've got a somatic movement class. Like, that's day today is that self-investment. It's amazing. And I think that a lot of people are like skeptical of whether or not that works. But I have to say, I'm working with someone right now who told me when we first started that they would really love to take Fridays off. Like, they were like, I read your book, and this idea of self-investment and like having a more harmonious work-life balance is attractive to me. And I'm just not sure it's possible, but maybe you can help me. And they're having the wildest year, taking Fridays off, being more profitable, creating a more lean, structured team. Like, they're having the best time. And we were talking this morning just over Slack, and I was like, you created this by listening to what you really wanted and only making room for things in your business that support your vision. And I know for some people, the money goal is supportive, helpful, gives you somewhere to aim. I just don't, to your point, I just don't think it's enough for long-term sustainability.
Yeah. That's so amazing. How did you create that? Because that's not really like that sort of approach to business is not the norm, I think, in our modern Western society, at least. It's beautiful. And I think a lot of people want it. And I think I would love for everyone to have it.
Me too.
And it's pretty radical, especially for entrepreneurs who like often put 150% and still feel like they need to put more. So like, how did you do that?
It was really painful. It was really hard. I felt so what happened was like, I had this burnout and promised myself, we're not doing that again. Like it takes a special kind of person to be a yoga teacher and an acupuncturist, which is like so health promoting for other people.
Yeah.
And friggin' totally burn out and get so sick. Like I just felt like I was like, I have no integrity. Like I just felt so I had a lot of shame about the whole experience, which I've resolved. But I feel like that was such a gift because I realized at some point, I think it was a couple summers ago, that my kids were home. They were running around. We had a nanny like looking after them in the daytime. And I was sitting here in this office looking at them running around and playing in the backyard. And like, they're going to be this little for 10 seconds. There's no reason I need to be sitting here grinding out like social media posts or like whatever I was doing. And I'm like, this is silly. I'm like, I'm working 5 days a week again. And I don't need to. My clients are not taking up like I'm not stacking my days with 7 clients a day. They don't care if I post today or tomorrow. They don't care if there's a podcast every single week. Like I just looked at how many extraneous things that were happening. And I had to take a good long look and say, can I connect everything in my calendar to my ultimate vision? You mentioned values. Same thing with that. Like we have a value in our business of simply no drama. And I was like, look at all the very complicated, very dramatic things I'm doing that I really don't need to be doing. So I cut out some things that I actually really did enjoy that were fun and creative for me, but were not tied to the ultimate vision. And where the trade-off was like, I can do this for an hour, or I can hang out with my like little kids.
Yeah.
It was really tough. It took probably about a month to really dial in, and it was so uncomfortable. I actually had to lock my computer in my office every Friday.
Amazing.
I've had clients do this too. I'm like, you have to put your computer away. And when you leave the house, you can't take it with you. And you have to delete your Slack channel or your Teams channel from your phone. You can't, you have to tell your team that you are not available. And then you have to put an autoresponder on for your clients. It did like it. I would never like do it if I felt like it was detrimental to my clients, but I marketed it to them as, when I do this for me, I'm more available for you.
Yes, 100%.
And most of them take Fridays off now.
Yeah. That's so amazing, especially in like the line of work that you're in, helping people with their businesses, like to model for them what it looks like to have this discipline with yourself that's aligned with your values is so incredible.
And hard.
Yeah.
Like I realize when I say it, people are like, oh yeah, it sounds so nice. I'm like, it's hard because it also reveals the parts of you that will opt for doing a little work or doing a little here or there, or, you know, even the creativity that which we talked about last time, when you're like, ooh, the muse has struck. I have such a good idea. It's so tempting to just open the phone and be like, let me just spend 20 minutes writing this thought. Like, no, you can actually just do a voice note, send it to yourself send it to the Slack channel for Monday, put it in Notion, like put it wherever you're going to put it, and then continue with being a human. I think it's like you have to learn how to be a human again.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you're talking about how hard it was, because I think these sorts of things, like going against your socialization or going against maybe like in the moment what feels good, it takes work. It doesn't happen without like supporting yourself and actually like sitting with urges. And I think that's why it's so important to like identify what your values are and what your North Star is and like what direction that you're moving in. Otherwise, you're probably not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's so tempting to do a thing that gives you a little dose of accomplishment. It's like, ooh, I posted today, or ooh, I sent out an email, or like, okay, did the stars align in such a way that it had to be today? Probably not.
Yeah.
Like maybe once in a while there's a really good astrological reason to do it, but yeah, it took a lot of reconfiguring and navigating the voice between like, is this my intuition telling me to do this? Is this my like creative, expansive, visionary self telling me to do this? Or is this my need to feel like I accomplished something to feel worthy?
Yeah.
I'm surprised at how often it was like the need to feel worthy and accomplished.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I can relate to that. I think it hasn't shown up as much in my own business, in part because I ventured out on my own as a reaction to overworking when I was working for someone else. But for me, it's like I think underneath was the need to feel worthy, and it manifested as like fear of disappointing other people and like needing to like be ahead of them and work everything out. Yeah.
So how are you recognizing and like making room for that in this new chapter for you?
So it's been my journey has been interesting. As an entrepreneur, I don't feel like I have gotten to that place yet. I've actually been in the place of like building trust with myself because I ventured out a couple of years ago. I worked for someone, and it was an amazing experience. I learned a lot, and I completely burnt out in that job. I just like gave way too much. And so when I started working for myself, I think of it almost like intuitive eating. Like people who have a disordered relationship to food, they go through a period, like if they've restricted food, they go through a period where just like everything is allowed. And so in my business, I sort of gave myself permission to do that, where I was like, okay, I'm only going to do what feels delightful, or I'm only going to do like what I am 100% on board for. And that felt really liberating at first. It felt really amazing. And I initially, actually, right when I quit, I had a period of like maybe 6 months where I would just have like creative energy flowing through me. And I felt so on fire and so alive. I think because I had this like sense of liberation after being so rigid with myself for so long. And then I think once I settled into feeling safe is when my body just like kind of collapsed a bit, for lack of a better word. And I went through a period, I'm just coming out of it, honestly, of like about a year maybe of not wanting to do anything, not feeling inspired ever, resisting like any forms of structure that I like tried to impose on myself. And that was a very scary place to be because obviously like I need to make money, like I live in the world where things cost money. I also didn't know if I was ever going to come out of it. And I like some identity stuff came up for me as well. Because I was so used to relating to myself as the person who's like always okay, who can cater to other people's needs, who can get shit done, who can like step up to the challenge. And like, I'm always fine. Like I was always the sort of, I didn't like abuse my body or like neglect myself fully, but I just always thought of myself as like, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be fine. I can like do this thing last minute. I can work extra to get this done. And suddenly I was in a place where like I couldn't, like literally my body just wouldn't let me. I would have like brain fog, and like I like after a certain amount of time working in a focused way, just like my thoughts wasn't capable of doing that, and also showing up for my clients in the way that I wanted to. And so that was a really, really difficult time. But I think now being in a position where I'm coming out of that naturally, I see how necessary that was, because now I feel like I'm actually in touch with myself in a new way. And I'm craving structure that I think if I tried to impose on myself later, like, making a more rigid calendar for the week, I would have resisted it and I would have been in this tug of war with myself. But now it feels like I'm actually collaborating with myself in creating it. And I don't know, I'm excited. Like, it's fairly new, but it feels exciting. I feel like what I will like be able to grow from here is going to be a structure, but like in conversation with myself and taking my own well-being into account. And it's going to be like flexible, but also disciplined. I don't know. That's sort of where I'm at, though.
I think that's the path to success. Like, I think everything you're saying, I've just seen so much evidence that this is actually the best way that it works. And I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels like I was just sort of treading water for a while. And then now it feels like I'm actually like paddling somewhere, which is really nice. Not that there's anything wrong with treading water. I needed to experience that, and maybe I'll need to do that again. But it's exciting. It's really exciting. And I don't think I would have gotten here if I didn't have the space and the ability and the privilege, for sure, of taking time where I just like allowed, like my body could just sort of settle and I could not have so much like rigidness.
I think it speaks to how powerful you are as a coach and a creative, because you like allowed yourself that space and time. And on the other side of it, I'm just like, oh, this is going to be this is just like the raw materials for so much goodness. This is like the clay you're about to shape into something that will become a gift for your people and the people around you. So I love it. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And also, I want to add that it absolutely did not feel in any way like that when I was going through it, which like, I know that but for anyone listening, if you think that like, I'm just going to call it falling apart because that's what it felt like. If you think that falling apart or decomposing or like being in hibernation is going to feel like you're generating something, anything, it probably won't. Like at the time I was like, my life is falling apart. Yeah. This path that I thought I was on, I can't move forward on. I don't know what I'm doing. Do I get a job at Starbucks? And I'm not maybe I still will because I want to give myself some level of freedom. It was very scary. It felt very wrong. I had a lot of shame come up because I coach creatives and I had no desire to create for like over a year. I had just zero desire. And I felt like a fraud. Like it was really intense. I was like, integrity in business is very important to me. So it's like, how can I coach with integrity? How can I like create content with integrity if I'm like forcing myself to do this? So it was very confusing, very scary. And now I can absolutely see how not only was it necessary, but I do think it's going to be the source of a lot for my clients.
And with that, I'm going to plug you.
Oh,
you are a creative, kind of going through this dark night of the soul. You know, we said this on the first episode, but like this is not a structured marketing exercise for either one of us. No. But, you know, my hope is that as you're like get to know us a little more personally, that you'll hear something that resonates with you. And if someone just heard like, that is what I'm going through, and I really wish I had a guide through that, how should they get in touch with you?
Oh, you should book a call with me, or you can reach out on Instagram. It's at Elana McKernan. My name will be in the show notes, so I won't spell it for you.
I will put all these things in the links and all the things in the show notes. But
thanks, Erin. But yeah, so you can message me on Instagram. You can book. I would recommend booking a consult call, even if you are just curious. I don't do like pressure. I don't make you make a decision on the call. My goal with every consult or every call I have with people is so that you get something like tangible out of it by the end, no matter what you decide. So yeah, I would recommend booking a conversation with me at the very, like, I love supporting people, helping people connect to their humanity through this and like hold their humanity and big goals at the same time. That's like my passion in life, is to support people through that. So please do reach out. You can book a consult at coachingwithelana, ELANA.com.
Amazing. Thank you.
And may I plug you, Erin?
Sure. I don't know what you're going to plug me on.
I feel like this
my workout programs.
I feel like this entire conversation has been about how do we connect with ourselves and build. I mean, if you're a listener who's a coach or not, like, how do we build businesses or conceive of work in a way that is aligned with our values and what's important to us in this world? And I can think of no better person than you to help people navigate that, because you are someone who hold both like the practicalities of business building alongside the like emotional connection and values work. And that's such a beautiful combination. And I think what's so needed in the world, just like in general, and also it's rare to find in a business coach. And I think you are an amazing person for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
I
so how can people get in touch with you?
If you don't want a fragmented business coach, if you want someone who's actually going to help you build the life and the business, it's so hard. I'm going through a bit of an identity shift too, because I'm like, is this even coaching? Like, I'm reviewing content for people. I'm helping them with their communication skills. I am doing the processing part is coaching, but it is, I'm kind of like, I just want to be the person that helps you clear the deck so you can have the business that you want to have within the life you want to have. I won't do people's bookkeeping. I won't write your marketing material, but I'll help you do it. And I mean, even last week, Steve, who's my business partner, we're helping a client build an app. And, we're not sitting down and doing the coding, but we're like showing them how to connect the pieces and bring out the idea. So if you need like the coaching piece, but also maybe a little content whispering and a little bit of strategic thinking partnership, that is really what I'm up to within the context of you're also a human with a life that needs tending, and all of it's welcome. Everything, you can find it. Actually, if you go to the show notes at besuperbound.com/coaching mixer, that if you click around a little bit, you'll be able to connect more with us. This podcast is also on YouTube if you want to watch us. All the links for both of us, all the links to the show notes are there. Our cocktail recipes will be there. I switched to tea by the end. I was like, I'm sticking to my one coffee. I'm going to see how this goes. But I'm doing black tea now.
Did you have those two drinks just like at the ready this whole time?
I texted Steve and he silently came out and put a tea.
What?
He's the best. Yeah, he's so sweet. I was like,
I kind of wish he had just like entered in.
We'll have him on someday. I'll get him to make a mocktail for himself, a cocktail for me.
Okay, what I'm actually going to need is for you to set up like a camera to catch him so we can see him like crouching, because that is amazing.
Yeah, he's my support system, which also, I mean, just talking about the 4-day work week, that is also really important, is not like figuring it all out on your own. It is really like collaborating with your people or your systems, like however lean your team may be. It's like really relinquishing control, which is hard for business owners to do. But it's so needed, or else you have no mental capacity to do the thing that your clients are actually paying you for. So,
yes.
I give him a big high five and some credit for that too.
Yeah, and you for like supporting, like for doing the work to be available for that, because as you say, it's not easy
Not
necessarily
easy.
to
Not easy.
collaborate.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for listening.